Most men think strength is about dominance. They think power is volume. They think confidence is fast replies. They think leadership is control. It isn't. The skill most men never master is emotional control. And without it, everything else collapses. You can have money. You can have status. You can have looks. You can have game. But if your emotions control you, she feels it immediately. And once she feels instability, attraction quietly begins to erode. Today, in the Calm Man Blueprint, we're breaking down what emotional control really is, why most men never develop it, the psychology behind why it matters in attraction and relationships, and how you build it in a practical way. Because emotional control isn't suppression. It isn't being cold. It isn't being robotic. It's composure under pressure. And that's rare. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Most men are reactive. She takes longer to reply. Mood shifts. She cancels plans. Ego spikes. She questions you. Defensiveness activates. She seems distant. Anxiety rises. And in that moment, he doesn't respond. He reacts. The difference between response and reaction is milliseconds. But those milliseconds determine whether you look grounded or unstable. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, the ability to influence which emotions you have when you have them, and how you experience and express them. James Gross, a leading researcher in emotion regulation at Stanford, found that individuals who practice cognitive reappraisal, reframing a situation before reacting, show greater relationship satisfaction and lower stress markers. In simple terms, the man who can pause, reinterpret, and choose his response wins, not because he's manipulative, but because he's stable, and stability is attractive. Let's talk about why. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, women have historically selected partners based on resource security and emotional stability, not just physical strength, predictability under stress. A 2014 study published in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that emotional stability ranked consistently high in long-term mate preference across cultures. Not loudness, not aggression, not dominance displays, stability. Why? Because emotional volatility signals risk. If you can't manage your emotions, you can't manage a household, a crisis, or conflict. And she doesn't consciously calculate this. She feels it. That's the part most men miss. Attraction is emotional, not logical. And emotional control signals safety. Now let's get deeper. There are 3 levels to emotional control. Level 1 is impulse control. This is the ability to not send the paragraph, not double text, not escalate an argument, not interrupt. It sounds simple, but it's rare. Most men are stimulus response machines. Something happens. They fire back. The calm man has a gap. Between stimulus and response, there is space. And in that space is power. Viktor Frankl once wrote that in that space lies our freedom. That freedom is emotional control. Level 2 is emotional awareness. You cannot control what you cannot identify. Most men don't know what they're feeling. They think they're angry, but they're embarrassed. They think they're annoyed, but they're insecure. They think they're frustrated, but they're afraid. And when you mislabel emotions, you mismanage them. Emotional intelligence research by Daniel Goleman shows that self-awareness is the foundation of regulation. Without it, regulation fails. So when she says something that hits your ego, instead of reacting, you ask, "What exactly did I feel? Was that disrespect? Or did that trigger a fear of not being enough?" That question alone separates boys from men. Level 3 is emotional leadership. This is advanced. This is when her emotional state does not dictate yours. She's stressed. You're grounded. She's upset. You're steady. She's testing boundaries. You're composed. You are not absorbing her storm. You are containing it. A 2006 study in the Journal of Family Psychology found that couples where one partner maintained physiological calm during conflict were significantly more likely to resolve disagreements productively. Calm is contagious, but so is chaos. If you escalate, tension multiplies. If you regulate, tension diffuses. The calm man becomes the emotional anchor, and anchors are magnetic. Now let's address the myth. Emotional control is not emotional suppression. Suppression is pretending you're not bothered. Control is being bothered, but choosing your expression. Suppression leads to resentment. Control leads to clarity. There's a difference between "I don't care" and "I care, but I'm not destabilized." Women can feel the difference. One feels passive, the other feels powerful. Why do most men never master this? Because emotional control requires ego death. You must be willing to not win every argument, not prove every point, not respond to every challenge. That feels like weakness to the immature mind. But true strength is restraint. Look at high-level leaders. Look at elite athletes under pressure. They do not flinch easily. They conserve energy. They respond deliberately because they understand something most men don't. Your emotional energy is currency. Spend it wisely. Let's bring this into dating. You're on a date. She teases you. An insecure man defends himself. A reactive man fires back aggressively. A calm man smiles, holds eye contact, and says, "Is that your test?" Playful, unbothered. She learns something instantly. He's not fragile. Fragility kills attraction. A 2011 study in evolutionary psychology showed that perceived confidence significantly increased attractiveness ratings, but perceived arrogance did not. The difference? Emotional stability. Confidence without emotional control becomes arrogance. Confidence with control becomes grounded masculinity. Now let's talk about texting. She replies slower than usual. Most men feel anxiety, and anxiety leads to action. Double texting, over-explaining, trying to regain control. The calm man assumes neutrality. He doesn't create negative stories without evidence. Cognitive behavioral psychology teaches that we often catastrophize ambiguous situations. Emotional control means resisting that impulse. Instead of, "She's losing interest," you think, "There's insufficient data." That mindset alone changes behavior. Let's talk about arguments. She says, "You never listen." The reactive man defends, "That's not true. I always listen." Now it's a courtroom. The calm man hears the emotion, not the accusation. He says, "Okay, tell me where you felt unheard." Now it's a conversation. See the shift? Emotional control moves you from ego defense to problem solving. And that shift builds respect. Respect is the foundation of attraction, not excitement, not drama, not unpredictability. Respect, and respect grows when you are hard to shake. Not cold, not distant, stable. Here's something uncomfortable again. Many men confuse intensity for passion. They think emotional spikes equal chemistry. But what often feels like chemistry is anxiety. True attraction feels calm. Secure attachment research supports this. Studies show that securely attached individuals report relationship satisfaction tied to stability and predictability, not emotional volatility. Drama feels exciting, stability feels safe, and safety sustains desire long-term. So how do you build emotional control? First, slow your reactions physically. Your body escalates before your mind does. Heart rate increases, muscles tighten, voice sharpens. Breathe deliberately. Long exhale. Research shows that extended exhalation activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calming the stress response. Before you speak, breathe out. That pause alone can save relationships. Second, detach identity from outcome. If she rejects you, that is an event, not a verdict on your worth. If she disagrees, that is perspective, not disrespect. When your identity is fragile, emotions become explosive. When your identity is stable, emotions pass like weather. You observe, you choose. Third, train discomfort tolerance. Cold showers, hard workouts, public speaking, difficult conversations. When you voluntarily expose yourself to discomfort, your threshold expands. Emotional control is easier when your nervous system is resilient. Fourth, reduce validation dependency. The more you rely on her approval to feel okay, the more emotionally reactive you become. Internal validation creates calm. External validation creates volatility. If your peace depends on her mood, you have surrendered control. And attraction fades when you hand over emotional leadership. Now let's elevate this. Emotional control isn't just about dating. It's about power. In business, the man who negotiates calmly wins. In leadership, the man who absorbs pressure commands authority. In conflict, the man who stays measured controls direction. Calmness signals high status. In primate studies, dominant leaders display lower stress reactivity than subordinates. Think about that. True dominance is quiet. But here's the paradox. You cannot fake calm. Women are highly attuned to micro-expressions and vocal tone shifts. Research in nonverbal communication shows that subtle tension leaks through posture and facial muscles. If you're internally chaotic but pretending to be calm, she senses incongruence. So the work is internal, not cosmetic. You build calm by becoming secure in yourself, secure in your purpose, secure in your direction, secure in your boundaries. A man with direction doesn't panic over small emotional fluctuations because his life isn't orbiting one person, and that independence stabilizes him. Now I want to make something clear. Emotional control does not mean tolerating disrespect. Calm men enforce boundaries, but they do it without theatrics. Instead of yelling, "You can't talk to me like that," he says evenly, "I don't engage in conversations like that." Then he withdraws if necessary. No explosion, just clarity. Boundaries delivered calmly are powerful. Boundaries delivered emotionally feel like insecurity. Let's connect this back to the Calm Man Blueprint. This series is about building internal strength first. In episode 1, we talked about how she's not testing you. She's measuring you. What is she measuring? This, emotional control. She watches how you handle pressure, how you handle disagreement, how you handle uncertainty. If you master this skill, you change the way women experience you. You become rare, and rarity creates value. Remember this. Anyone can be calm when things are going well. The skill is being calm when they're not. That's mastery. And most men never get there, because they avoid discomfort, they avoid introspection, they avoid accountability. But if you commit to emotional discipline, everything shifts. Your tone changes, your posture changes, your pacing changes, your presence changes, and presence is magnetic. So here's your challenge. This week, catch yourself. Every time you feel triggered, pause. Label the emotion precisely. Breathe. Choose the response that aligns with strength, not ego. Do this consistently, and you will feel your baseline stabilize. That stability will show up in your dating life, your work, your friendships. Because emotional control is not situational, it's structural. If you're serious about becoming the calm, grounded, high-value man most never become. Continue building with the Calm Man Blueprint. We release new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Go back and watch the previous episodes we've already released in the series, and come back for the next ones. Each builds on the last. This is long-term development, not quick tricks. Master your emotions, and you master your life. I'll see you on the next one.